Greetings, greetings, greetings. This is The No on 99 to Beat TKNN Live. Thank you all for tuning in once again. We interrupt your regularly scheduled program of listening to Fantasia Barrino for things that are much more important on a Sunday afternoon at 5:04 p.m. I am your co-host, Yair L. the Agreeable.
And I am, once again, your hostess, Navia the Disagreeable.
Shout out to all the DJs that put on their musical prowess on 99 to Beat. We really appreciate you guys. We thank you guys for continuing to bless us with great musical tunes to listen to during the workday and the weekend.
It really takes a talent to mix that stuff up because I tried and it didn't work out too well.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so given what the feel of our introductory theme song, once again, my beloved husband, Yair, is not standing for the cause. What do I mean by that? We're supposed to be protesting at NFL, and once again, he's sitting here watching the Eagles versus the Rams.
14-7, by the way. But last time I checked, I don't see any of these black NFL players protesting. So,
What happened to the support? What happened to the support?
Of who?
United we stand.
Divided we get shot.
United we get shot. Divided we get shot.
You know, stand up we get shot. We march we get shot. Sit down we get shot. We just get shot all the way around just for being black. So,
oh wow!
I mean,
wow! I suggest you turn off the television.
Okay, sure. I will pantomime like I'm turning off the television to give our viewers the visual as if I'm actually doing it. But all right. So now. Once again, this is TKNN Live. We are also broadcasting on YouTube, and we will provide the link in the chat box shortly.
Okay.
So this particular topic for this Sunday is going to be checking the facts.
Oh, yeah.
In addition to that, we're also going to talk about any paradigm shifts that might be taking place right now.
In your life, ooh.
Yes, ooh, what's going on in your neck of the woods? No, I'm sorry, that's Al Roker. Whoops. Anyhow, but yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about. And when we talk about fact checking, I think it's something that I talked about, you know, when you were still recovering from that unfortunate assault from the roving group of Mr. Potato Heads when you came out of the Chick-fil-A. It was very sad, but we're glad you made it.
I have a lawsuit pending, by the way.
I
do have a lawsuit pending, and we're going to get paid off of that because they had absolutely no right to touch me or my waffle fries.
That's right. That's right. It's okay. You know, I mean, I think they were a little bit salty, but you know, it's okay. No pun intended. You know?
Yeah, that was.
But anyways, you know, so Mr. Potato Head and all the roving groups out there that are coming at my beloved.
That's right.
Because she wants to exercise her right to eat fries.
That's right.
We're looking out for you.
That's right.
We're coming for you.
We ain't never scared. Bone crusher. Never scared.
Never scared.
Okay.
We're coming with the peanut oil. That's right. And we're going to take you to Five Guys. And you will be enjoyed.
Oh, whoa.
We will enjoy
you.
All right, moving right along. All right. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we wanted to talk to you guys about something very important, and that is fact-checking. You know, of course, our most esteemed and prestigious best president of all time, President Donald Trump, talks about fake news. That's right, he's the best president ever. Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Because he says you need to make sure that you don't listen to fake news.
I agree with that.
Yes.
I agree with that because social media is completely flooded with it. Completely flooded with it, and nobody takes the time to do anything. They just share it and share it and share it until we all look like idiots.
You want to know what's very interesting?
Yes.
Because we just talked about it this morning, and you know, a friend of mine, God bless their soul, they posted something on Facebook media.
Yeah.
And I really hope, you know, they were joking, but it was a picture of two sheriffs that went around a specific county in Georgia, and they murdered up to 250 people.
Yep.
And they did it maliciously, and they did it with ill intent to make sure that their survival was ensured because they were in fear for their life, you know, and taking out 250 people. And they was questioning the character of one of the sheriffs. That's true. That's true.
For sleeping with his so-called best friend's wife.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And she was pregnant, and she got murdered as well. So the whole outrage was, you know, basically attacking the character of people that we put in office that's supposed to preserve us.
Right, supposed to preserve us. And then I think what happened is later on, as the story goes in that particular article, the older brother actually murdered the younger brother. You know, there came a point in time where, you know, they had to contest against each other as men, and looks like the older brother showed out. You know, so
rest in peace.
Rest in peace. But we have to say, you know,
Grimes and Walsh are their name. Deputy Grimes,
Deputy Grimes,
and Deputy Walsh.
And Deputy Walsh. We salute you, Deputy Grimes, because you are indeed are a very good leader.
Yeah.
When we tune in to watch you every Sunday on The Walking Dead, you never cease to amaze us. And we will continue to spread that picture around as you continue to fear for your life and the life of the others on that wonderful show in 8 seasons. We thank you.
It's, while simultaneously inciting outrage about Americans that think that you are a very, very bad example of an officer.
Indeed, you're not a bad officer at all, because on the show, you portray yourself as a very great officer who looks out for the best interest of his group. I mean, you've overcome the governor.
Yep.
You've overcome the wolves. Now you're overcoming Negan. Negan is badass.
Then the savior. He sure is.
Negan is real badass.
And, we watch it faithfully. It's crazy.
You know, although I do admire Negan, I think, you know, I really appreciate your authenticity and looking out for the best interest of the people. And I think you get a bad rap, you know, in multimedia, social media. Because quite frankly,
multimedia as well.
You know, if once again, if we actually instituted critical thinking, we would know that the picture that was spread around was actually fake.
And it was a show.
It was a show.
But what we find so disturbing is how many people actually shared it in outrage and was saying that Trump was supporting him.
Made absolutely no sense. I'm like, well, when we both looked at it, we like, beloved, they do know that this is a fictional character.
No, they absolutely did not.
They thought it was serious.
Well, you know what they always say, the best way to keep education from a Negro is to put it in the book.
Put it in the book. So, you know, apparently we are not as educated as we thought we were, and we need pictures and symbols and vibrant colors to get our attention. So...
Or fights.
Yeah.
We like fights.
We like fights. World Star Hip Hop.
World Star Hip Hop is
amazing.
Yeah.
It's off the chain. You got to, you know, that, and you know, YouTube fights. You know, what better way to melt our brain cells into thinking that everything is just fine?
Well, it has to be, because anything that is posted on the internet is 100% true. It
has to be true. It's got to be true. It is true.
Yeah.
It's very true. You know, just like the article that was around, or the video clip of the lettuce.
Oh, that was my favorite.
It was artificial. You know, and what happened is the artist was pouring melted wax into a pool of cold water, and he put food coloring in it and made it green and made it look like lettuce. And then he did the same thing for several processes, and he made it actually look like lettuce.
Yep.
It looked just like lettuce. but people spread around the message saying this is what they're feeding us.
Yeah. They don't understand food art, okay, and marketing and advertising. So they spread this vicious rumor that we were eating wax lettuce, if the person eating it wouldn't be able to know the difference from something organic and something that's wax.
Something that's wax. You would think, when you bite into something that's waxy, there would be a different texture. Me, I'm a textural person. If I bite into something expecting something to be lettucey and it's waxy, I don't think I would continue to eat it, nor would I have let that continue. But once again, in a modern day society that we live in, people don't like to use that button that says click for more or look at other comments. They just post and share for likes and attention.
Likes and attention. That's what the world has come to. That's what the world has come to. It's all about, how many people actually like or adore or follow you. What people don't really realize is most of the people that are on social media, this is just a facade. It's not the real person.
Correct.
If you're looking at social media, all I see, unless I have connected with someone personally, talked to them over the phone, got a chance to actually feel their energy, what I see is pictures and fonts. Okay, which means that, number one, I can't get so mad at somebody disagreeing with me because technically they don't exist outside of the world of technology. Media. Okay, so a lot of Facebook beefs and start like that. Y'all need to let that go because it is the silliest thing ever. You don't know these people. Now, sometimes you do. I mean, sometimes you got some family members or friends that's up there cutting up. But for the most part, you're getting into beefs with people that you have no idea if they even exist. It could be a 12-year-old kid.
That's right.
Leave it alone. It's not that important. When we go on a Facebook, we're looking for news. We're looking for, what's going on in the world right now. And we have to fact check it.
And entertainment. Some of these things are very entertaining. I mean, even on a more important note, there was a particular clip that was put up of this child that was acting up in a barbershop. And what was more disturbing, and as we segue into this, it kind of gets a little bit more serious now.
Yeah.
But what was very disturbing about this is that almost every comment said, I will whoop that child's ass.
Right. Yeah.
The problem is they did not exercise critical thinking in looking at the whole of the matter and assessing the fact that this child might be autistic. And the mother doesn't quite know how to handle it, or the mother is tired, or the mother just simply does not know what to do and how to take care of the child, or where to go, or who to go to. Instead, we react emotionally and say, that child is spoiled. I would have whooped that child's ass. Where's the belt? Where's this? Where's that? And they don't think critically as to what might be going on within the mind of the child himself.
Well, whoopings and beatings to install control or fear is a taught trait. Okay? If you think about what happened with our ancestors and stuff like that, and the people that went through slavery, when you wanted to beat someone into submission, that was just the way to do it. So a lot of these things have been passed down to generation to generation as a method of, control.
Correct.
Or discipline. And it's the first thing that comes to you. And I was mildly whooped as a child. I didn't say I didn't have, too many beatings. My grandmother got me with a slipper one time, and a plastic hanger. But, my cousins and them, they got it a lot worse. They got extension cords and sticks and, the heavy ironing boards. I mean, all that, whatever their parents.
You whoop with ironing boards.
Look, you can, the fold up one, the little small one, if you can grab it and swing it, then that's what happens. I mean, they picked up whatever was in the closest range of them to beat those children.
So they just went WWE on them and just brought out the tables and chairs.
That's just what they did. And then we wonder, why our youth become so angry, and agitated.
Correct.
And they're not being listened to. The generations and the thought processes are very different from when we were children. And some of the things that, worked for us is not working with these kids.
Precisely.
They're not. I mean, some of them, Jesus Christ, we saw a video a while back where these young girls was fighting in the street got ran over, hit by cars, and got up and was still fighting.
Still fighting.
Okay.
I was speechless as to how that was even possible.
They're made out of something different.
some type of rage or revenge or some interesting energy behind that, because there's no way I would be able to get up after getting hit by a car to continue to fight.
Right. And
the programming is different.
Yeah, the program is different. The way that they think, the influence that's around them is totally different. Some of the things that we were growing up with that was considered taboo or shameful that you didn't even talk about. And even if you were doing it, you didn't brag about it. It's completely opposite now.
That's right.
Okay, so having stern conversations because they're seeing it everywhere. You can protect your home. You know, you can put filters and stuff on your laptops and all of those things. And you can also monitor, you know, things that they're playing with or things that they're listening to. But ultimately, when they leave the house, you've lost control.
Correct.
Because everything that they need to know is already out there in the street.
That's right.
Everything that they need to know is already out there in the street. So it's better to go ahead and be open and talk to them about it as opposed to trying to, you know, hide it from them. And we've talked to some women on the show before about that, like Lyrical and the other sister that I can't remember right offhand, Crucial.
Yes, Crucial
Red, yes. Yeah. And they have been doing an excellent job in just openly talking to their children about things, you know. So fact checking so that you don't come across stupid.
That's right.
Because your children now, they're not the researchers that we used to be. And they kind of go along with the fray. And anything that is posted, they'll believe it. This has been one of the most naive and gullible generations, you know, that I've ever expected to see. I mean, ever or even experience.
Yeah, even scriptures say that, you know, generation after generation will get wiser yet weaker. Wiser in means of accessing information and knowing how to use it, but weaker in the sense of being able to sift through that information and seeing what's actually fact and what's actually fiction. You know, it's often said perception is greater than fact.
It
so
is.
when you go through social media and you see things going viral, it doesn't automatically mean that it's fact. Another instance was when, remember that very traumatizing picture of that black girl being hung by white boys?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that one?
Yeah, that caused a lot of stink.
That was fake.
Okay.
That was fake.
How did you find that out?
Well, remember, we went on YouTube and we were looking at different comments as well, and they were saying that this is some weird, sick fetish thing that is done on certain sites. And certain things didn't make sense as to, you know, how she was strung up and how she was abused and things like that. Certain things just didn't meet the parameters of being lynched.
Actually lynched.
Unfortunately. But it also showed just how easily we can become polarized as a group of people who think critically and a group of people who just react. I mean, I've honestly had to unfriend some people as well because I tried to say, listen, this is fake, and they're like, oh, well, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, they went off on us.
Just because that's the case, it doesn't mean it's not happening. I'm like, hold on 1 second. We got to be proactive and not reactive. We always have to use critical thinking before we react, because unfortunately, if we react this way and we take it out on the wrong people, then it's a snowball effect.
And we're also playing into the programming of trying to create these racial tensions and race wars.
Correct.
But I mean, I'm not going to discredit, everything that goes on, you know, in the media, and I'm not going to sit here and say that there's not racist people, you know, because there definitely is. But the ratio of what is being reported as racist versus the people who are not racist is off balance, and it's done that way for a reason.
Right.
Okay, and y'all have to understand that it is actually done that way for a reason. Somebody wants to ignite some type of hatred and anger to create a race war.
That's right.
Y'all have to know that this is what they're trying to do. You know, now who the they is, I don't know. I don't know if it's coming from our people or if it's coming from, you know, the other people, but we got to be smart enough to be able to see these things, these false flags, these red flags, these this constant promotion of the same thing over and over again. We do want to stand up for our rights. Don't get me wrong, but don't play into it so much that you lose your touch of or sense of reality.
That's right.
Of what's around you. I work around a lot of different ethnicities, ethnicities, and I can see with some of these other ethnicities the same type of outrages that we are going through when these things happen. So everybody's not your enemy. Okay,
Correct.
so be able to identify who your enemy is, okay, and know them and deal with them as such.
And think critically and use common sense. If something, okay, that was our dryer, but if something raises your eyebrow, then you need to stop and analyze what you're reading or what you're seeing. You also have to keep in mind that when you look at things on social media as well, in regards to tweets or Instagrams and Facebook, those can also be altered.
Yeah.
These things where you see phone texts and things like that. There are programs in which you can actually go out and mimic text.
That's right.
And then you upload it, and then it looks like something similar. So these things have to be examined critically. You almost have to be a forensic scientist to look at the authenticity of these particular posts and of what's being said. But what is very interesting is if you are like Beloved and myself and you think critically and you sit back and you observe, you see just how stupid people really are. I hate to say that. They're some of the smartest people.
God.
Some of the smartest
You
people.
have such a harsh way of saying things.
Well, I don't care. I mean, it has to be said that way sometimes because you can't coddle adults. I hate to say that. You cannot coddle adults. I've seen some of the most brilliant, smart, bright, intelligent people say the dumbest stuff reacting to a video clip.
Yeah.
That is fake.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. And then I have to question, like, how smart are you really? If I'm watching you make this comment to something that is not factual, but the other day you were posting something that was really awesome and profound. Makes no sense. It's a weird position to be in because I'm like, I enjoy your information, but the way you react, I don't think I need to be friends with you. Makes no sense.
Wow. I typically don't unfriend them. I just sit back and find it entertaining. But to each his own. Like you said, perception is bigger than truth. Okay, and if you are already a person that's angry, if you're already a person that's fed up, if you're already a person that is sick and tired of injustices and stuff like that, it doesn't take much, for somebody to trigger what you already thinking and what you're already feeling or what you already want to do.
The tracks like.
So when we react like that, we have to understand that those things are already boiling inside of us, and we want to get it out there.
Indeed.
And we're going to let people know how we feel.
So once again, you guys are listening to TKNN Live on 99 The Beat, and our show is called The Know. I'm your co-host, Yair El the Agreeable, and my co-host, Navia the Disagreeable. If you have any questions to you, our family that's in the chat room, please ask away. Ask any questions that you might have. Propose anything, and we'll read them out loud, and we'll try to answer them as best as possible. But we're just going to, of course, continue on and rant about making sure that we check facts.
On a lighter, well, I'm not going to say lighter, on heavier news, on a heavier weighted matter, we're dealing with this movement, okay, that is called the Me Too movement.
Oh, boy.
Have you heard of the Me Too movement?
Yes, I have.
Okay. I think it was started by Jessica Alba. Is that correct?
I don't know. Let me take a look and see.
I think it was started by Jessica Alba. And basically, the Me Too movement is dealing with women who are trying to come forward and are coming clean about sexual harassment or molestations or anything that, went on in their life that was considered taboo that people got away with. Okay. And this movement has become has gained so much momentum. Now you couple that movement with, the feminist movement, and you couple that movement with the LGBT, and now they're trying to put a P on the end of that, which is a very, very scary thing. If you don't know what the P stands for in the LGBTQ and P movement, the P is for the promotion of pedophilia, and to change the age of consent to around 7 or 8, and some people are even arguing that it could be a lot younger. This is absolutely terrifying. This is absolutely terrifying, because what you're witnessing is how one movement can start snowballing and grow into anything goes. Because here's the thing that I was trying to warn people about a very long time ago when it deals with, freedom of speech and freedom of this, and having the right to do this and do that, and making the government get involved. Okay.
That's right.
With some of the things that you're protesting or trying to get off the ground. Once the government gets involved, it then becomes a slippery slope. Okay. So, because what you're going to have is you're going to get your government involved in a cause that you think is justified. If your government decides to side with you, then another cause comes, okay, and then it'll become discrimination if they're siding with your cause and not somebody else's cause.
That's right.
So then again, the government will side with that cause, and then another group will come. How does the government have the right to weigh, the consciousness of an individual, what they feel is right versus what they feel is wrong, their moral and ethics, because to each person it's completely and totally different. When you start pushing for a government institution or laws to be passed that justify your particular perspective, and they go with it, then naturally, how are they going to stop others from coming through?
That's correct.
Okay, and if you don't understand what I'm meaning is some causes need to be fought on your own as civil, okay, and not being pushed as a law, because once that happens, then you're going to have other groups and other groups and other groups, and if the government says yes to one group and completely denies another group, then that's another right to fight, because now you're dealing with prejudice, discrimination, racism, whatever it is that you're dealing with, which is going to put pressure on the government to allow them access to pass a law that stands for somebody else.
Correct.
So we're scared now because this pedophilia movement has gained momentum, and you have psychiatrists that are backing and saying that this is actually a disease or something that can't be helped. So if you look at something as being a disease, or a sickness or something like that, then there's mercy that comes along with that. Okay.
Or sympathizers.
Right. You're going to have mercy, you're going to have sympathizers, and you're not going to look at it as rigid as it needs to be looked at.
Correct.
Because you come after mine, I'm going to be in prison. Okay,
that counts for me too.
Okay, I mean that's just how that's going to go. But for people like ourselves who take a stand against that, we become the enemy. We become the target.
Truth now becomes the enemy to anything that wants to be made legal. And I think there's a saying that everything that is legal is not lawful. That's right. And making something like this legal is not lawful. It's not right. It is unjust. Because good, bad, or indifferent, I think there has to be a stopping point where things do not go so far. Because this opens up the floodgates for perverts. Yep. For people that want to prey on little children. For people that have these sicknesses and want to find a way to skirt any penalty. This is also a way for certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Certain groups, even in Hollywood, to continue to do what they do. Oh, yeah. And they get away with it a lot because money is power. Indeed. Okay? Money is power, and that's just a factor of life. Now, we can blame this person and that person for setting it up that way,
But right now, we don't have much of a choice until you can get to a position of power.
That's right.
Okay, so everybody that's here is just kind of going along with the fray right now until a change comes. And we believe in changes. We believe in, paradigm shifts, and ages ending and new ones beginning, because we're entering into one now. This is why I am bringing up, these changes that you are seeing in the atmosphere.
Correct.
All of these movements, all of these celebrities that are having to sit down, these women that are coming forward and speaking out, and what you're seeing is instant karma.
That's right.
It's an interesting phrase that goes around. It says karma is a bitch. Okay?
Interesting.
Karma is a bitch. Now, everyone knows that, the slang for bitch is always female. It has always been a feminine term, used against females. If you understand what karma is, it is a divine justice.
Correct.
Okay, and if you understand the symbolism of justice, it also is a female
holding up a balanced scale.
Okay.
With a blindfold.
Yes. So in this new season, this paradigm shift that you all are witnessing is a rising of feminine energy. Okay, it's feminine energy. But understand this. With everything that is happening, there's always going to be a counter. Understand that even with this movement, there's a positive and there's also going to be a negative to it.
Correct.
And you have to be smart enough to ride this through. Okay? They were preparing you for it for a very long time. If any of you remember that terrible movie, and I mean, it was terrible. Tom Cruise, oh, Jesus Christ. We spent that money to go see that movie, The Mummy. Okay, and it was one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life.
Ever seen.
And they played it up so well. And I was
the preview was better than the movie.
I was very anxious to see this movie because of the premise behind it. Right. It was the rise of Amunet. Okay, and people who know who Amunet is, they kind of know their backstory. So here it is, this princess that is supposed to be coming during a specific time to exact her revenge from what was stolen from her. And what was stolen from her was her power. Okay, so they started preparing you for this a while ago. Okay, they started preparing you. They started showing you Wonder Woman. They started showing you Thor and that female in there that was this devastating force.
Or Ragnarok.
Okay, yes. They started putting in your face a lot of movies with very prominent female heroines, okay, that are strong, that are powerful, that are either the heroines or the antagonists. But the roles have become, there's a little bit off balance, what one could consider off balance. There's been a shift where most of the action roles always went to the males. They were the strongest physically, but now you're seeing this feminine portion just start to manifest and come very, very strong. Okay. So you look like you was going to interrupt me.
I was going to say, even American Horror Stories, we watch that too. There have been several instances where they'll talk about Horror Stories Coven, or this last one where it was more political when it talked about fears and things like that. There was an awakening, so to speak, of this divine energy, divine feminine energy, in which, women now are taking their power back, and they're operating in such a way that would be unprecedented or unseen or unthought of that a woman would do, quote unquote, according to societal norms.
And even with that new American Horror Story, the political aspect of it, there was a woman that was pretty much in charge, or the mastermind behind the whole thing, and she was programming this guy to step up, into a position of authority. But his role was to unleash the feminine rage. To unleash the feminine rage. So what I'm trying to say to, some of you males out there and some of you females out there, but mostly to the males, is this is not going to affect every one of you.
Nope.
Okay? It's not going to affect everybody.
I'm good.
But if you are a male that have found yourself, at one point in time being an womanizer or an abuser, or if you had always thought yourself superior, you're getting ready to enter a very humbling stage of life right now. a very humbling stage of life, and it's designed to teach a lesson. And this lesson is all about harmony and balance, because for years it has been imbalanced.
Correct.
Now, I had a brother that came, on Facebook. He said he didn't know what male privilege was.
Oh, boy.
He's never heard of the term male privilege. And I didn't hear of the term male privilege either, except for I would think the feminist movement would use something like that. Mm-hmm. It was not a term that we coined ourselves, but he was like, what is male privilege? I found that interesting because I remember when we first started talking about white privilege, and white people act stupid.
Right.
Like they didn't understand, what we meant by white privilege until it had to be broken down to them, because they're just living life. They're not seeing themselves as privileged because they have their own stresses and struggles. Okay, but they've never actually walked in the shoes of black people. And it's only when you're able to identify with something by walking in their shoes or having it done to you that it starts to make sense. Okay, so when he said, what is male privilege? He said, what the hell is that? And I had to respond to him. I've never heard of the term, but I can connect with what it was saying. Mm-hmm. And would you read him what I said?
Okay. This is what you so brilliantly said. All right. And I quote, probably because you've never experienced life through the eyes of a woman. You've never been told that your place was in the kitchen, or that you couldn't make decisions because you were too emotional, or maybe because you couldn't even govern your own body. Perhaps you couldn't leave an unhealthy relationship because you weren't allowed to divorce. Even your own path in life had to be, quote unquote, led by a man as the head to govern everything you do in this life. And that religion was the say-all and do-all of gender roles. Mm-hmm. Maybe you were never forced into an arranged marriage because of your parents. Maybe you couldn't be strong or intelligent without fracturing another's ego, so you were forced to be downplayed through your intellectual prowess. There's a list of why that could be a term, although I've never personally heard anyone use it. But hey, that's just a thought.
Okay, that's how I responded to him. And I guess when I presented it in that way, it woke something up, because he later responded and said, real talk, but oh, what you said is so true. He never thought about it on that level because he never experienced it. Do you see what I'm saying? When you have been groomed your entire life that you are supposed to be this, you're supposed to be that, and you're the leader, you're the king, even though you have your own struggles, you fail to identify with your counterpart because you're not living or walking that experience.
That's right.
So when your counterpart starts to complain or start to try to empower themselves, you're looking at them like they're crazy, like they're rising up against you. Mm-hmm. The interesting part, and what makes this very, very hypocritical during this day and age, is that our people as a whole, like women weren't asking anything different than what black people were asking for their own rights, during the slave movement. Being treated inferior, being discriminated against, being told that they were, 1/3 less human or something like that. All of the fights that we've had against our so-called oppressors, why did we take that same energy and do that to our own women? Why did we do that? Because that's a learned behavior. It's a learned behavior. So this paradigm shift that you're experiencing watch the YouTube channels, watch these fights, watch how strong these doggone women are in this generation.
So don't forget the ones that were on social media where you had this woman throwing a big table.
Yes.
She just hoisted it. I'm like, where did she get this Herculean strength from that she could just frisbee a table across the room? I mean, I could see if it was like a light table, but it looked like it had, corrugated wood with some steel legs and everything. She just picked it up and frisbeed it across while blocking a chair.
Yeah.
So something. It's not the water. It's something going on with this vibration that is empowering, the movement of the divine feminine. And I think this is also something that should be brought up too, because I think a lot of individuals or a lot of women who feel this energy rising don't quite know how to distribute it or exact it out.
Yeah.
So which is another reason why we see a lot of the quote unquote social justice warriors and the feminists come out and scream all this information,
right?
But they don't quite know everything that is to or what to do in these regards to certain topics and finding equality or finding justice for the women or using their energy in the way that it was meant to be. Because what we see is, like we discussed a few days prior, is that there's a need to be heard, and when you're not heard, there's a lashing out.
Anger.
And with that anger, unfortunately, some of the chauvinists laugh at that and make fun of it.
And this is why you're seeing the bitch
Correct.
karma, you know, start to manifest in a way that is so strong. Anger is a result, you know, of what you were saying. It's years and years of feeling like you don't have a voice or you can't be heard. And, you know, some of those social warriors are kind of ridiculous. You know,
It is.
I mean, so some of the stances that they make, some of the claims that they make is not rooted in reality. I will say that. But I also stand the catalyst behind it. I understand the catalyst behind it. Just don't be surprised, you know, in the next coming years if, you know, you see women taking more power roles, okay, in the government and corporate America and owning their own businesses. Just prepare yourself for that. If you have a good woman, link up with her, you know, because you might have to lean on her, you know, during some of this times, you know. Eventually, the universe will balance itself back out. Okay, we went first with the heavy patriarch, you know, the very heavy masculine, the hey, this is what the Bible says, shut your freaking face, you know, and then they started transitioning over into the divine feminine, where, you know, women who hadn't been heard previously now feel like that they're empowered to do so. Women who were taught to keep their mouth shut, you know, are now saying, I don't have to keep my mouth shut anymore. Right. Men who have been protected, you know, for a very long time by powerful people are now getting called out, and they're getting called out and it's hitting them like a ton of bricks because they never thought that it could happen to them. And the world wasn't designed for things like that to happen to them. I mean, even if you think about how religion teaches you, you know, in the Old Testament, you know, women were getting raped and stuff like that. And it was like, hey, now you got to make her your wife. But it wasn't no big deal. You know, it was, you know, if you wanted more than one woman, you just took them. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. So what you're kind of witnessing is the chickens
coming home to roost.
Chickens coming home to roost.
But even in that, I mean, even in the passage of scripture, and I believe we talked to Brother Wendell about that, you know, the scriptures and the way they were written were also written by mostly men. Yeah. And a lot of the scriptures and the history and the instances that were written by women were not incorporated at all. No. So now there's a big hole, gaping hole missing in some of the spiritual texts that we have been left out of. Right. So it's very unfortunate.
Even the Sybil prophecies were all written by women, but you have to find it. You have to research that.
And they're trying to figure out, and of course you have a council of men trying to figure out if it's canon, or if it's you know, valid, or if it lines up with what's written. And again, we have this issue where there is a lack of accountability on the men's side, of course, you know, due to their ego, as to how this can be properly balanced, and the misunderstanding of what balance actually is.
Right, right. But that was a taught behavior. You know, that was a learned behavior. You can see that it wasn't an automatic, natural behavior to lord over somebody, even if with the crazy Garden of Eve. The Adam and Eve story. Correct. You see, she just handed it to him. He was like, okay. He didn't look at her as inferior. Do you see that? He looked at her as an equal. So, I mean, she came with some information. He was like, okay, I like that information too. So we're together. He didn't say, woman,
Didn't
take that
God
apple.
Said, God said we didn't see. He's like, oh, okay, well, I'll take your word for it. Boom. Mm-hmm. And then she said,
yeah. Then he told.
But
he told
again, we have to look at what's written.
A snitch.
If we have a man placing blame on a woman, but then again, scriptures weren't interpreted correctly. Mm-hmm. What was really said? Was it said in a way where it's saying, well, it's her fault, or is it saying, well, she gave it to me, I thought it was okay, because according to what I have read in English, if that's the case, it seems as if those two didn't know any better. So if you say, oh, well, she just gave it to me, the woman gave it to me,
right? It's
not saying the woman gave it to me, it's her fault, but it's saying, well, she gave it to me, I ate it.
And it tastes great.
It tastes good.
And it was less filling.
But again, it's the implication behind it, and that implication that's taught that now, because of this big to do about eating the fruit, which was not an apple.
No.
The woman is at fault, and she's less, and she is inferior to the man, which still makes absolutely no sense, because when we look at the fact of what Beloved often wrote about, which was the Ezer Kenegdo, it means one who contends. Mm-hmm. And it's not one that is contentious or one that just continues to argue, but more or less one that brings a balance by way of looking at things from a different or a opposite perspective so that the whole can be understood.
Okay. Right. So, I want to get y'all prepared, because this is going to continue to gain momentum. Something else, if you are a lover man like Shaba, okay, and you fall in love and get your punk behind heart broke, understand what that is too, okay? Women who started empowering themselves, remember, and I said that there's always going to be a positive and a negative behind this. Mm-hmm. There are certain women that have the mentality and they think just like what they said only males would think, and you could be used as a boy toy. Mm-hmm. You could be used as a boy toy. Mm-hmm. Your feelings could get discarded. You could end up losing the love of your life, and you can be out here broken. That's right. These women are completely and totally different from back in the day when the husband would just raise their voice and everything was shut down. These women fight.
Yeah, they will box you.
And they're very good at it.
Yep.
Okay, they will kill you. Okay, so be careful, mm-hmm. In choosing your mates out here.
Or they will even control you to kill other people.
Yes.
If you're not careful. Mm-hmm. If you are not careful, and these women, I don't mean to say it that way.
No, so go ahead and say it. That's fine.
And
nobody's sensitive.
Find a way to. They use their feminine energy to manipulate for the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. You and other people, you'll mess around and be in prison because of that manipulation.
Yeah.
So you have to guard your heart,
mm-hmm.
guard your mind, and exercise proper wisdom and discern feminine energy for what it is, and that's to bring balance, but also know that it is to elevate the woman. So you yourself come with some humility. You might not like that. Come with some humility and understanding, but also make sure that you know how to hold your own so that you can bring balance. Because in order to offset power, you need equal power. Correct?
That's correct. That's absolutely correct. Mm-hmm.
So if you're seen as being lesser, then you're gonna get railroaded. Easily.
Railroaded, run in, done up. Taken for everything you got, on child support, new alimony, big houses. Mm-hmm. Right. What did Kanye West says he was supposed to buy your shorty Tyco for his money?
He said you gotta insure Geico for your money.
Looking around looking like Michael for your money.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Boy, that was hilarious.
He was looking around. So I mean, stuff like that you're going to get got. Don't be surprised if the woman that you are with, and this is only talking to certain men who have been in this, in this power mode all this time, of the woman that you love, all of a sudden decides to not take it anymore, and one day you wake up and she's somebody completely different, and she's looking at you different, and she's challenging you. If that was to happen, you need to be able to recognize what it is.
Right.
Entering into this age of Aquarian, there's a lot of Aquarius. There's a lot of things that is going on, and even with the rising of the Baphomet. Now, a lot of people.
Oh no, the Baphomet is sin. It's the devil, Lucifer. You shouldn't be talking about that. This is a family show.
Hold on. I don't know too much about the Baphomet. Okay. I see the symbol and just what I get from the symbol. Okay. And what I get from the symbol is duality.
Correct.
Okay. This is just what I see when I see it. The as above and so below, and then I see masculine and feminine traits. Okay, I see the female and the male, and then I also see a hybrid of a human and animal. Okay, now I can come up with all types of things of what I think that stands for. It doesn't validate it. Okay, it's not going to make it truth. I just have, a thought process of what I believe is happening, and I think it has everything to do with this age as well. Okay. Only secret societies and elites have this grand understanding of the Baphomet. Okay. Is it looked at as an evil symbol? Sure. Depends on what your belief is. Does it necessarily mean that it's an evil symbol? Again, depending on what your beliefs are.
Perspective.
It really just depends on your perspective. Like I said, I just see it as duality. I just see it as a balance, and I see that it has become very prevalent in this age as well. Okay, and it's being shown a lot more. You see it in the entertainment industry. You also see them erecting statues of it and pictures of it and jewelry made out of it. But what exactly it's designed to do and how it is attaching itself to this age, we're just witnessing it. We're just sitting back watching it. And eventually it's going to make sense. But right now, I don't have the complete picture. But I'm just preparing you guys for what I am seeing. I'm preparing you guys for what I'm seeing and what I know, is going to be happening in the near future. Women, if you have big dreams and big goals, this is the season to start implementing them, because this season is in your favor.
That's right.
Okay? So all of you who have had dreams and ideas of starting a business or something like that, go ahead and get it done. Go ahead and start putting your plans into action, get your goals and your priorities set up, and start walking in that path, okay? Because it is set up for you to be successful. Okay, now, it is important to know that just because something is set up in your favor does not mean that somebody else is unfavored or disfavored. Okay, so this is not for you to start looking at your men crazy. Do not do that. Okay, don't start looking at them crazy. Don't start, if you're noticing that the things that you as a couple are asking for is being handed to you, as opposed to when it used to be handed to him, you need to be able to balance that well and look at it as still a us.
Bingo.
Okay, it is still an us. It is both of us. Unless you're one of those women that got caught up in a bad relationship and you just want to, use that to get yourself out of it, then use that to get yourself out of it. Get yourself out of it and move forward. Beloved found something interesting, and I think he wants to read it.
Okay. This was in reference, in regards to the Baphomet that you were talking about. Our brother by the name of Yirmiyahu bin Yisrael,
buddy,
on Facebook, posted this, and we love this guy because he thinks differently. He thinks outside the box, and he brings a different perspective that allows you to think critically, and again allows you to fact check information rather than just taking anybody else's word for it, or just looking on social media and say, oh, well, Baphomet is evil, this is that, this is so on and so forth. So I'm going to try to browse through this as quickly as possible. I'm not going to read it all, but it says this, okay? Baphomet. In Draconian tradition, the Baphomet is translated as Bapho-Mitra, or father of Mithras. Listen up, listen closely. Baphomet is also rendered as the head source of wisdom. If the Baphomet is rendered father or source, Mithra and Mithras is identified as Samael the dragon. Then one has the source or head dragon, or the origin of the Pendragon or Pendragon, I guess, depending on how you pronounce it. Baphomet, the deity of the Templars, was described as being both the head of wisdom, which has Celtic and Galatian origins, and the sabbatical goat. As a sabbatical goat, the Templar glyph also was used by the Cathars, the medieval witches, and later generally by Satanists and the left-hand path occultists, was more complex than the simple pentagram.
All right, so let me pause right there and just ask you a question.
Sure.
Now, this is talking about a symbol, okay, and the symbol that was supposed to represent a deity. But yet, everything that you just read about it, the people that used this symbol was labeled as witches and Satanists. And so this is where you get the identification that it has to represent something evil.
Correct. And occult doesn't even mean evil. It's not even supposed to mean evil.
The term occult just means hidden.
Hidden. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So go ahead.
Let's see here. And this is going off the picture that, if you all were to Google the image Baphomet and you would see the plain image, okay? This is describing what you would see, okay? Baphomet was pictured as a cross-legged figure, Cernunnos and Krishna, I guess that's a reference, both lords of the forest, and the identifiable with Herni, the hunter, who is Anwun and Odin, who led with the wild hunt in search of fairy women, which have the head and legs of the goat, the scaly torso of a dragon, and the breasts of a woman, and the phallus of a man. Okay, Baphomet has wings of an angel, swan feathers, and a torch between its horns. Its right arm raised with the index finger, forefinger extended, and on the forearm is written Coagula. The two fingers point to the moon. Its left arm points down and to the side, and the index and the little finger are extended to form the horns of a goat. The fingers point to the old or black moon, Kali. Okay. On the left arm, it is written Solve. Solve and Coagula are alchemical terms.
Yep.
Okay. On its forehead, there's displayed a pentagram with a single point uppermost. In the simpler form, excuse me. Sorry, just let me take a quick sip. Sorry, I apologize.
Did your throat get dry much?
Yep.
Okay.
Started to get dry. All right. In the simpler form, the goat's head traces the figure of the inverted pentagram, and thus it is to be understood that the one pentagram equals the other. Thus, the single point pentagram represents the goddess. Then she and the goat are one, as is represented by the combining of the male and female sexual attributes as one symbol. I mean, this goes on.
Okay, but what did you get out of that that was very pertinent to the topic?
It's a representation of balance. Okay? Feminine, masculine. Right. Up, down. As above, so below. There's a balance. There's a harmony between
everything.
In everything. And it's easy. Just looking at
and
this,
it does look creepy.
It does.
The symbol looks creepy
to the unlearned.
It looks creepy to me, and I'm still learned.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. The lovely Molly did kind of mess us up.
Yeah.
Jeez. But looking at it, and you now have an understanding that this is an amalgamation of different symbols into one picture to gain a specific understanding of something.
Right.
Does not mean it's evil. Just means it has to be deeper understanding. It's esoteric. And esoteric, also occultic, means that it's something hidden that you have to understand.
Hidden meaning. And it's amazing how certain people who deal with occult knowledge, they keep it to themselves. And they keep it to themselves because, number one, I guess I can understand it to a certain extent. At first, I was going to go there and say they keep it to themselves so that you don't have the power or the knowledge or the information that they have, which in turns allows them to continue to be prosperous and lord over you because you're ignorant. Okay? But the second part, the flip side of that is some people do not have the mind to handle everything, to handle certain information. I mean, that's just truth. If I had a remedy right now that would give certain people the ability to have a superpower, a superpower of telepathy or that can fly or say that they can create fire from their hands, and I could give that to them, how many of them will go out there and start immediately killing their enemies?
A lot of people who want to use it for unrighteous means or unjust means. I mean, it goes back to what you said. Not everybody is stable enough to handle that. And then also, I think you have to think of this concept as well. When they even erected the statue in, what was it, Oklahoma? They erected the statue, and then two homosexuals made out in front of it. Even though, what's interesting is, even though that symbol contradicts what their actions.
Right, it does. It does, completely.
So that shows that the homosexual couple was ignorant to the actual symbol of Baphomet.
Okay.
But
that's good.
The way they spin it is, this is evil, this is what this means, and they don't care, and this is why this is happening. Not true.
And I will tell you something else, that we're going back to balancing what is happening and saying that some things that are coming across is going to be positive and other things are going to be negative. Because of the feminine age, that is starting to emerge, that is going to rise, and that's going to be a powerful force. There was another movie that was put out that I think everybody needs to see, and it's called Mother. Okay,
yep.
It is a very controversial film. Not only is it controversial, but if you don't have too much esoteric knowledge, or it could be hard to process, put it that way. You might not know what you're looking at. The whole movie is rooted in symbolism. Okay, and basically this movie Mother is dealing with the agreement or disharmony between the Creator and Mother Earth. And is dealing with two core principles that, started off as being harmonious and started to gravitate from one another because of which perspective they thought was righteous. Okay. And here you have the premise of the movie is the mother, who is Mother Earth. She rebuilds this beautiful home and this beautiful landscaping, and all she wants is to perfect this and present it to, her husband, and who is just known in the movie as he. Okay. All she wants to do is present this to him and them to live, alone and enjoy this paradise that she herself created. Well, he, the creative force was not satisfied with that because his purpose was to actually create. Okay. So, he went through this little spell where his creativity was not flowing the way that it should. He was an author, he was a writer, and then, here comes the first man that comes and knocks on this door. And this man comes in and he has this problem and he's talking to the creator, the author. And now this man, the author or the creator, gets inspired and he writes this fabulous book of poetry that went out and became a top seller and now has all of these human beings coming to worship him. In the meantime, as these beings are coming and coming and coming and coming to be in his presence, they're destroying what she created. They're destroying the house. Okay, they went into a forbidden room. Excuse me. When his wife comes in, the man that comes to visit has a wife. She goes into the forbidden room. You know, so you already know that they're talking about, you know, Eve. They have 2 sons. The 2 sons end up fighting. Blood is in the carpet. She can't remove the stains. Okay, so now her husband has all these followers. He don't want them to go anywhere, but she's pleading to him that they are destroying her house. That why can't she be enough? You know, that everything that she built, it is now in turmoil. And you go through this process of where you see people coming, the wars are starting, there's murders happening, there's even these weird religious cults, you know, that are happening. She finally gets pregnant. They take her son, pass it through the crowd, breaks his neck, and then eats it. You know, finally she can't take any of this anymore, so she burns the whole house down. She sets herself on fire with herself in it. He reaches into her chest and he rebuilds it all over again. Okay?
Interesting movie.
So you know that they're trying to let you know that the feminine force can be destructive. It's a purging force. You just like the earth goes through this cycle, and women go through their cycles, moon goes through their cycle. If it becomes to the point where, you know, there is rage, there is an outcry for justice, it can also become destructive.
That's
okay.
Right.
And you need to know this in your relationships as well, and the people that you are dealing with on a daily basis. When you're watching this shift, it's very important for men not to become angry about it or to fight against it, because fighting against it is not going to change it. I mean, I hate to have to put it that way, but this is a necessary thing that has to take place, and it's done by design. Okay. There's a difference between, you know, the end of the world and the end of an age.
Correct.
And when you understand what the end of an age is, and it's all about the interpretation. Now, you know, we read in the Bible and it says, oh, this is the end of the world. I will follow you to the end of the world, and the end of the world and the world. But the term is eon. And eon signifies an age. So for every age, there is a dispensation, a certain amount of time, and something else is introduced. Okay. And we either evolve and adapt, or we buck up and we perish. But either way, you know, we just need to be able to recognize that this is happening, because the people that are in higher position already know that it's happening.
Correct.
You're the ones that are still trying to hold on to an old vanguard that's no longer in place. It is changing, and it's changing rapidly. So what are you going to do? I asked this question a long time ago. Well, not a long time ago, about 2 weeks ago. And I had just called you on the phone because I was processing information out loud.
Right.
And I had wanted to propose this question to the males that are listening. Excuse me. And it's listening to my voice here.
Listen up, males. I mean, feel free to chime in, please.
But, you know, if you look down at the bottom of your legs and where your ankles are, and you've noticed that you had 2 feet, and you've used your feet to travel from one location to another location, you used it to skateboard, you've used your feet to pedal bicycles, and even has gotten to the point where you became so powerful that your walking has now turned into acceleration, and you can run. So you know and have identified with your feet for a very long time. And just say, maybe a couple of months from now, some archaeologist unearths a 500,000-year-old document that tells you that man was not supposed to walk, and that feet were not supposed to be used. Even though you have used your feet for your entire life, they've unearthed a document saying that man was not supposed to walk. And not only that, but this was written by a powerful prophet who had spoken directly with the creator of the universe and saying to you that you were not supposed to walk. How many of you would go out and invest in a wheelchair tomorrow? We'll wait. Nobody.
Mighty quiet on the chat line.
Okay. Right? Now, the point of that allegory is that how do you take truth with something that does not identify or radiate with you? This is something that a lot of women had to go through their entire life. They know they're brilliant. They know they're strong. They know they might be talented. They know they could be creative. They know that they could possibly run some powerful business, but because they read a document that said that they're not supposed to do it, they no longer do it. If you are a person that would have said, hey, if I found that 5,000-year-old document and it was written by God, I would definitely stop using my feet. Congratulations, you're not fit to lead.
You're not fit to lead. Nope.
You're not fit to lead.
Follow.
Okay? And if you are the male that have said, well, I would challenge that document, this is why leaders are made out of necessity. This is why they are born. They are born to challenge a status quo. They are born to prove something, wrong or false. So I say that to say to you, females, women, you can get out of your comfort zone. This is the time for you to get out of your comfort zone. Do what's necessary. Take care of your family, but you can expand yourself. And when you expand yourself, nobody's going to look at you crazy because this is not the season for that. That's right. Now, if you would have done this maybe, a couple of decades ago, you might be looked at crazy. But in this day and age, you're not going to be looked at crazy. As a matter of fact, you're going to get a lot of support from the universe in doing that. And trying to get your affairs in order and starting to develop and utilize the things that have lied dormant in you for such a long time. And
more important, and I'm not going to say more importantly, but also, or additionally, men that have that correct discernment will support that.
That's right.
Will bolster that, and they will push you to do these things, and they'll push you to excel in what you desire to do. They won't hold you back or hinder you. They will push you to the forefront and be your backbone and be your support when you get blowback or when you get some type of adversity. They'll be right there for you.
There you go, like my darling husband. But we both got goals, we just do them together. Sometimes we got separate goals too, but we got goals.
Yours is kind of first.
Right there, right because now, I'm the one that's like, right. Gotta get this done. But we both got goals, and we're kind of supportive of each other. Whichever comes first, and the other one backs it, and then when that's up and running, then we focus on something else, and that's just how it goes. But that's all I have to say about today and today's topic. I was just getting over a cold. And been sick for a little bit and kind of wrapping myself up and, so I'm trying to make sure that I'm perfectly healthy by next week.
All right.
I've also noticed that, we have no support in the chat room.
Nobody is talking. I don't know if anybody's listening. We're hoping that we would have had some participation, but maybe what we're saying is just so deep and heavy that no one wants to interrupt the flow that we're in, but we're hoping that you guys do talk back to us. Give us your input. Give us what you think.
Well, maybe nobody's on.
Yeah, maybe it's just us talking and just shooting the breeze like we always do.
Okay, that's fine.
But that's.
I'll put it on the website.
Yeah, that's yep. We'll put it on the website too, and then I guess if we're done, then I get to practice my little DJ skills or something. Here, I'll play a song here, and I'll press this button here and have a terrible transition to this music, and everybody will get to see DJ Yair L on the no.
I'm your hostess, Navia, the disagreeable.
Or I could freestyle. Yeah, I can freestyle too. You want me to freestyle? Here.
Absolutely not. This has been TKNN Live. We're going to be signing out. We want you to enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Thank you for signing in. Of course, I was just shot down, so no confidence booster there. Just saying, hey, you're terrible at it, so just cue up the outro, and that's it. Thank you for listening in. TKNN Live. I'm going to walk and watch the game with my tail between the legs. I'm your co-host, Yair L, the Agreeable. TKNN Live on the No.
99 the beat.